My name is Matt Blandy. I was born in Manassas, Virginia on January 25th, 1995. When I was 4 years old, my parents decided to move to Vermont. They decided to settle right outside of Rutland in a small town called Chittenden. We had 13 acres and lived at the base of a small mountain. Much of my childhood was spent in the woods with my two dogs that were alive back then, named Sandy and Yogi. They were both labs who loved being in the woods with me. Growing up, I always had a very strong interest in history. On both sides of my family, there is a long running military service, including one grandfather fighting the Battle of the Bulge during World War II, the other grandfather serving two tours in Vietnam, and both of my great grandfathers served in World War I. This history of military in my family is what I believe sparked my interest in history. School has never been easy for me. I've always struggled focusing and time management. Subjects such as math, science have always been a struggle, whereas I performed much better in classes such as history and English. I started off my school career at Barstow Memorial School, attending their kindergarten through 8th grade. My time at Barstow was up and down, and I used to get in a lot of trouble getting disciplined for being a young boy full of energy who always loved to talk. I loved sports growing up, and I played hockey, football, and baseball. Looking back on my time at Barstow, I think it was a great experience. I met people who I consider to be some of the closest friends to this day and will be lifelong friends, as well as having some awesome teachers who really helped me get interested in teaching. Mr. Kinsler was my 7th and 8th grade math teacher. I knew him my whole life because he was good friends with my neighbors and was always around for parties and such. He was an awesome teacher who really took the time to help me through a class that I struggled seriously in. He took the extra effort to help me in study halls and maybe sit in front of his math class because he knew it helped me focus. He remained a good friend of mine. His ability to help me, even though I struggled in class, really inspired me to become a teacher because I know how it feels to struggle at something to, and to feel helpless in a subject. But if I can help kids who struggle in a certain subject, then that's my goal. In high school, I also struggled with many subjects, but did pretty well in history and English classes. My favorite teacher and inspiration was a teacher named Yoshi Day. He was my senior year English teacher and had a class that was full of nightmare kids. These kids behaved terribly and often refused to do work. Instead of kicking them out, he would usually sit down and help them through it. His patience and want to help these kids really inspired me. He was all around a great guy and amazing teacher. As a history teacher, my philosophy will revolve much around essentialism. I will aim to give my students the basic knowledge it needs to know of history. William Badgley was the man who popularized the term essentialism in the 1930s, and it has been a dominant influence in education since World War II. I would also like to inject some of John Dewey's ideals of progressivism. I would like to encourage free thinking and be able to use technology in order to make the classroom more enjoyable for kids who may not love history. My goal is to teach the core knowledge and events of history, but let my students form their own opinion on how they feel about the history instead of leading them into an opinion. For my civic engagement, coach hockey. Coaching has always been something I have liked to do. It started very young for me when I was growing up. I taught kids how to